Hello everyone, my name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today I wanted to talk about connection. How to have a connection, what it is, how to have it in a scene, all of that great stuff. And this was in particular inspired by some experiences that I had last weekend at Ropecraft Chicago. It seemed to be that when I was taking rope bondage bottom focus classes, everyone kept bringing up a desire for connection. I want to be able to connect with my top. The reason why I do bondage is because I enjoy the sensation of connection. I don't know how to have connection in a scene. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to express myself or how to form these connections. And I kind of want to give some advice about that today. Now, like I said, it is inspired by the experiences that I had there. And one of the big things that I learned is from this packet, which is Arriving Home to Awareness by Shakti Bliss Bunny. If you don't know who she is, or if you haven't seen her work before, I do recommend you check out www.bhaktibondage.com. I don't know if this particular thing is available on that website, but I do want to give credit where credit is due, although obviously this is mostly my own opinion and experience. It's going to be something that is informed by this, so I want to make sure if you guys want some additional resources, you know where to find that at. So, connection. What even is it? What do people mean when they say that they want to be able to have connection? This seems to be the first stumbling block that people have. People assume that connection tends to mean like this soft, like caressing romantic experience. And while it can certainly take that shape, for me, I would think of connection less like any sort of very specific experience and more like just being able to have a shared human experience that's conscious with another person, kind of a combination of doing something together, but doing so in an intentional and mindful way. So that's how I would think of connection. This can take many, many different forms. So this could be a sadomasochistic connection. This could be a romantic connection. It could be erotic. It can be sexual. It can be a combination of multiple of these things at the same time. Really, what connection is whatever you want it to be. And I hate to say that because I think that might undersell it a little bit, but you can have connection in whatever way speaks to you. It's just about having that be with another person, having that shared human moment is really what I think connection is. But where people seem to run into issues is how to actually do that. So what I want to talk about today are some tips and tricks you can use to be able to help form connection. This includes checking in with yourself before a scene even starts, how to check in with a partner, how to create intention in a space, and how to maintain a connection once a scene actually starts. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about forming connection first through the process of introspection. I really seem to be on a roll when it comes to talking about introspection for the last couple of weeks, but really this is the true first part of being able to have a connection with another person, is having connection with yourself first. If you are disconnected from your body, if you do not understand what you are thinking and feeling in any particular moment, how are you going to be able to share and express that with another person? How are you even going to know what to really negotiate for or what you really want if you're not actually in tune with that? So the first step is to just sit with yourself. You don't have to do any formal, sitting in meditation sort of thing unless that really speaks to you. But just spend some time with your body. Be like, hey, what's going on? How am I feeling today? How am I feeling today? No, really, how am I feeling today? I'm not just okay. What are the specifics of that? It's really easy, I think, to tell ourselves that we're okay as much as it is to tell other people, oh, how you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. This is an opportunity to be truthful with yourself. Sit with that. Be like, okay, what am I really feeling right now? How is my body right now? Just being able to be aware of all of that and really check in with yourself. Something else that I think is really powerful as well is visualization. And this can go along with introspection, obviously, but really think to yourself, what do I want right now? And just kind of do almost free form visualization. This might be a little bit difficult, especially if you're not used to it already. But if you can take some time to really just ask yourself, what do I want from this? What is my goal? What do I want to have out of this scene? Why do I want to share this with this person? And you just allow kind of your own thoughts to kind of form visuals of what that looks like, you can use that as a tool to be able to guide the kind of things that maybe you want to go to a partner with and say like, hey, this is like what I'm kind of feeling right now. Here's where my energy's at. Here's what my emotional state is at. You know, here's how I'm feeling physically. This is kind of what I was thinking about maybe in terms of a scene. And that will give you tools to kind of describe the thoughts, the feelings, the things you want to have associated with a scene. Now, the next step is obviously negotiating for the scene. Now, you could probably negotiate for the scene before you do the bodily check-in, but I feel like it is worth it, especially if you're doing something that's more like we're doing a scene tonight kind of thing. A little bit different if you're doing things, you know, for weeks or months in advance. If you negotiate something, it's worth checking in and kind of having a little, you know, double check in again before you do the scene. And negotiation is a subject that is several videos in and of itself. So if you don't know a lot about negotiation, I do recommend you check out some of the other videos on my channel. Links to some of them will be down below if you don't know where to start. When it comes to being able to feel connection and wanting to negotiate for a scene that includes a lot of connective elements to it, although I would say that BDSM in and of itself is typically a connective experience, there are probably some specific questions you want to answer for yourself and have your potential partner answer as well. I would think about things in terms of desired emotional state and desired sensation and feelings. I think it's really easy to get wrapped up in like the nitty-gritty of like, okay, 5 minutes in, I want you to do this thing, and then 5 minutes after that, we're gonna do this, and that like micromanage the scene before the scene even really happens. I think it's more important to kind of focus on like the emotional states that you want to achieve, because that's a way of communicating to a partner what your connective style is like. And this is really what this is all about, is finding what your connective style is like. What helps you feel connected to another person? Is it that warm, lovely feeling? Do you want to feel caressed, loved, cared for? Do you want to be in pain? Do you want to feel tortured? Do you want to suffer? Do you want to feel hot, sexy, turned on? You know, use those types of words with your partner to say, you know, here's what I want to feel. This is the kind of thing that helps me feel connection. And you might not know yet, because sometimes it does really take having experience there, where you can kind of, at least based on the check-in you had with yourself, kind of go along with like, well, I feel like this might be something that I want to try for right now, or this is something that I might be open to. And you can use that to kind of dictate, okay, here's kind of what we want the scene to feel like. And then you can talk about what are things that help me achieve that feeling. You know, okay, I want to feel caressed and loved. What does that look like to me? What does that look like to you? Does that mean, you know, slowly running the rope across the body? Does that mean whispers in the ear? Or do those kinds of things freak you out? Like, that's important to talk about, you know, because what one person's experience is not the same as everybody else's. So something that might come across as being caressing and loving might not be the same for your partner. So it's important to do eventually get down into those specifics so you can have a mutually fun experience. But if you can bring it with examples like, I want to feel caressed. I feel caressed when somebody pauses and holds a hand on my back. I feel cared for when somebody whispers nice things in my ear. I feel like I have been challenged when, you know, somebody indicates to me that I've done something that's very difficult and that they're impressed. You know, you can use all sorts of different language depending on what you actually do want to achieve. And that's really, I think, the core, at least of the negotiating experience, being able to form connection. Because if you haven't spent any time talking about what that looks like, your partner's not going to know to do that in the scene. You're not going to know how to do it in the scene, because instead what's going to happen is you're going to be inhibited. And I think inhibition is the biggest part of why people can't have connective experiences. I think leaning in to some degree within safety and risk profile is important. This is not to say that I'm advocating you to let go of your inhibitions and get wild drunk and do whatever you want. No. You have to let go of your inhibitions, like, organically. Like, you have to feel comfortable creating a space where you can lean into whatever your organic feelings are based on your negotiation. And so that means, you know, having safe word set up, having a robust negotiation, probably paying in public when other people are there, having a security net in place, having a comfort level established where you feel you can do that. Maybe that doesn't mean the first time you do that scene with a person, you really, really lean in. Maybe you just kind of are learning each other, you know, that's fine. But when you do have a relationship that's been going on for 6 months, a year, 10 years, however long, you know, if you do have that trust where, you know, the person's going to respect your boundaries and consent, when you feel like, I want to feel, you know, caressed and cared for in a scene, lean into when those feelings, you know, naturally emerge, maybe during negotiation when you feel like a bolt of inspiration, bring it up. When you're in a scene with the negotiated boundaries, lean into those emotions and share those emotions with a partner. And that's basically what I would do for this part of the practice. Now the next stage is basically immediately before the scene happens, because it's really hard to go into a scene and just be like, all right, I'm ready to connect, and then put the rope on me, Captain. Like, that's not really going to produce the desired result, at least for most people. Maybe for some people it works, but usually you need to have a moment where you really get into sync with your partner, because hopefully you've kind of built a little bit of that into the experience of the negotiation, and you should probably do a little bit of another, you know, self-check-in beforehand. You know, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Kind of having a moment of intention setting in the room just by yourself. Again, this might be a little bit woo for some people, so you don't have to do this, but when I'm in an unfamiliar space, or when I'm playing with a new person, or I've just been distracted and I want to be able to focus on what I'm experiencing, which is core to being able to have connection, is being able to be focused on the here and now and in the moment. I like to think about what's going on in the room. I like to sit with myself and be like, you know, how am I feeling right now? Am I cold? Am I hot? Am I hungry? Again, kind of those questions again. You know, what am I feeling emotionally right now? Or, you know, what can I see? Is there any taste in my mouth? Can I smell anything? What do I think about the music? Kind of just getting familiar, getting in tune with the room. Our brains are really great at shoving everything into the background and be like, you don't need to worry about that. Sometimes it's good to be aware of those things, because you can say, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. You know, I didn't really, you know, notice that I was cold. Maybe I should grab some socks before we start the scene right now. Or, oh, I didn't know I was hungry. Maybe I should, you know, grab something really quick before we start the scene. Or maybe you realize you don't like the music and you want to grab some earplugs or ask to have it changed. You know, just being able to have that moment where you're really connecting with the room, connecting through your body, opens you up to the second step, which is actually connecting with a partner. This can be really simple and really quick. Like, you can literally run through this in like 2 minutes if you want to. It's all about what your needs are for that particular scene. If you're just going, you know, yep, okay, great, did my 5 minutes of meditation, I'm ready to go, perfect. If you want to spend an hour doing it beforehand, also great. It's about what works for you. But when it comes to forming connection with a partner, there's a couple of key things that you can use. And this is something where humans just for some reason tend to naturally do this. And so we're kind of hacking natural human tendencies here for kink purposes. So good stuff. But depending on your comfort level with this person, there's a couple of techniques. One would be shared breathing. You don't have to touch in order to do this, but you can either do something where the top is guiding the breath, you're guiding the breath. I mean, I don't want to assign labels to you, dear viewer, but whatever you are, you can have a shared experience of breathing with your partner. One person can kind of be leading a purposeful breathing experience where they're going, you know, like in, out. And so they're kind of guiding verbally with the voice, you know, indicating when the breath is going to be happening. Or you can just watch their chest rise and fall and sync to that. You can hold hands to a chest and you can feel each other breathe that way. Touching as well in general is a good sync tool. If you want to do something that's a little bit more power exchange focused, the bottom, for example, could be sitting where the top is staying behind them and pressing a hand into their back. And the hand is syncing the breath and also syncing through connection of touch. And as well, based on, again, class took from Shakti Bliss Bunny, I learned something that I had thought maybe was true but hadn't heard concretely before, which is humans like sync nervous systems. Like when one person is like really high energy over here and one person is lower energy over here, like generally speaking, unless like the person who is at the lower energy level is kind of maybe more like leaning towards average, whereas the other person is like super anxious, that might lead the person, especially if that person is more prone towards anxious thinking, towards anxiety. But generally, if somebody is, you know, kind of calmer and more grounded and more synced with everything, they will help that other person kind of equalize and allow the more anxious, more busy-minded person to feel permission to go more into a relaxed state. So if you're like feeling nervous about the scene, if you're not sure how it's going to go, if you're feeling anxious about people watching you, having that moment where you're syncing breath is also an opportunity to sync nervous systems, where you can calm down and kind of just be aware and present in that space and just eye contact is another really great tool. Everybody has a different relationship with eye contact. Some of it is sociologically driven because different cultures have different expectations about what different kinds of eye contact means. So for some people, making forced eye contact is like a challenge thing, and so if you make eye contact and like if your eyes are all scrunched up, like it can be a connotation of like of challenge, of not respecting somebody's authority, or making eye contact can in fact be a sign of respect because you're having to do so very purposefully. Other people, you know, having one person looking down into another person's eyes when the other person's eyes are downcast, that can be a really powerful power exchange tool. Not being able to make eye contact, power exchange tool. But having the eye contact can actually be the tool that you use to help you kind of pivot into the scene. Like you can be like, okay, we're having this strong eye contact. It's kind of like we're gonna do a little bratty, little sadomasochistic thing we're gonna plan on doing. That's how I'm gonna start. I'm gonna challenge him with my eye contact. Or you can do the thing where rather than doing that, you do the opposite and you have very like calm, relaxed, sort of downcast eyes when the top above you is looking down into your eyes and slowly lifts your chin and like commands your eye contact with his brutal power. Whatever, like, you know, that's another thing, you know, and with his eyes he leads you up to standing to be able to begin whatever you're beginning. And so just being able to use eye contact as a tool for connection is great. And that leads me into when you are actually in the scene itself, how do you maintain the connection? And this is where I feel like I have a lot of ideas to contribute, so I'm going to try my best to go over them briefly so you can experiment with using them on your own. Pivoting from before the scene is maintaining eye contact. You don't need to stare at somebody the entire time you're doing a scene together, but if you occasionally make sure to like look up at your top or the top looks at you, it's a really great way to check in on somebody's emotional state and say like, hey, I'm here with you. I'm thinking about you. This isn't just me floating off in my space and doing my own thing. This is about like me having a present moment with you. Now, if you like blindfolds, if you like closing your eyes during a scene like I do, remembering to do this can be really hard, but even if you just have it as like an end cap to a scene where you do it at the very beginning and the very end is kind of like a final sort of moment of recognizing your partner, that can actually still be pretty effective just on its own. You can also continue with the synced breathing. Taking pauses during a scene is great, especially if you're playing for a long period of time. Having moments where you check in with your partner, you know, maybe you're tired of spanking, maybe your paddling arm is wearing out, and you just have a moment to like, you know, rest your hand on them, you know, touch their shoulder and say like, hey, how you doing? You doing, feeling good? And maybe they're badly messed, they're like, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe they're like, you know, actually I'm not really feeling it right now. You know, it gives you the opportunity to have that touch, have that contact, especially if you are doing things that are very like intense, very pain focused. Having that, you know, continued touch, you know, maybe you're doing something where you're doing an impact play scene and you have your throwing arm doing the throwing stuff and you have that one hand kind of on them, you know, you kind of, you know, are saying, without having to say anything at all, you know, I'm here with you in this experience. You know, I am feeling the energy that you're giving me. And it's a little bit hard for me to talk about this in terms of the top side of things, in terms of being able to form connection during a scene. But during the bottom side of things, I really try to focus on visualization and intention during a scene. This can kind of be a little bit meditative, which can actually be helpful for going into subspace, so it's like a little 2-for-1. But I try to very purposely think about the energy that I'm sending out into the room, and specifically trying to very purposely send out specific energy to the people that I'm playing with. I do not necessarily like subscribe to the whole like chakra Eastern medicine type thing, so like, you know, don't assume that's why I'm talking about this, but I really do think that like humans put out energy, like feelings basically, that are palpable to the people around them. And so when I'm bottoming to somebody and I want to make sure that they know that I'm staying with them and I'm feeling connected, Verbal stuff is great. If you're gagged, can't really do that. If you are like me and you go kind of nonverbal when you're feeling extra great, might be kind of difficult. But I usually try to be very intentional with the energy I'm sending out. So what I will do is when I'm in the scene, I try to visualize myself in the space that I'm in and try to visualize kind of what I think are the activities that are happening. So for me, that means like if I'm doing a rope bondage scene, for example, if I have my eyes closed, I'm trying to visualize where my top is in that space. I'm trying to visualize the rope going on, and I'm trying to visualize, you know, maybe depending on what it is, I might visualize a specific color, because I do make a lot of color associations in terms of, you know, red and passion and yellow and happiness and joy, and like I try to picture like a light or a color kind of glowing around that, and visualize that passing through the rope, passing through whatever toys or other equipment we might be using, passing through my fingers if I touch them. If they touch me, I try to visualize them kind of having almost like a stain, a glow of that color left on them from where they touched me, and being able to take that with them, and just very purposely kind of trying to channel that along with whatever's going on. So if a rope is passing around me, I'm visualizing that rope passing over and kind of sending out my thoughts and my feelings and my desires with that rope, and kind of staying connected, you know, through that sensation of the rope. I'm visualizing it going over the body, you know, through the air or on the ground, and then up into the hand of the person I'm playing with, and kind of making that connection with them through that medium, even if I can't physically experience their touch. If for some reason I'm doing a scene where I'm not making immediate physical connection through some medium in that moment, I will still try to visualize the person that I'm with and still try to visualize the sharing of energy. With this, I tend to focus more on the breath than I do with kind of an effervescent, almost sort of skin-like thing. I try to focus on breathing in a specific intention for myself and imagine actually sharing that breath with that person. I'm visualizing receiving the energy from them on the in-breath, and then as I push my breath out, I'm sharing the energy back to them. You know, the energy might be different, you know? I might be like, okay, I'm receiving this from this person, and I'm going to give them that intention on the outside, so to speak, if that makes sense. Like, okay, I'm breathing in their energy, and I'm sharing the energy through my breath with that other person. Again, you know, this is kind of woo. You don't have to do this, but I really, really think if you can use these mechanisms, you might actually have quite a bit of a success that you might not have expected before. Again, being very purposeful with touch, especially as a bottom. A lot of types. Now, especially as a bottom, a lot of tops don't like to be touched, especially not without expecting it first. So if you want to do something where you communicate back to your partner through the medium of touch in order to share energy with them, in order to share a connection, probably talk about that first, negotiate for it first, probably the best idea. Doing things where they're holding your hand and you're kind of squeezing the hand and allowing the energy to pass through that hand squeeze, or interlacing fingers, or reaching back towards them, reaching up towards the rope, caressing the toys that they've used. You know, anything like that. That can be another way to share it if you're kind of more of a touch-based person. Making sounds as well. Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention sounds yet. Sound is another great way of exchanging energy. They go through this more in this packet, and I am certainly not an expert with this. So yeah, gonna pimp this out again for the third time in this video. But this is another great way of doing it as well. Breath and touch aren't for you if you're more of an auditory person. Giving and receiving sounds is great. There's not only the ambient noise that you can use to kind of cultivate the energy you want to experience. You know, is it a fast tempo, slow tempo, so on and so forth. I've talked about this more in another video where I talked about, you know, how to set up a scene space. So check that out if you want more info on like picking sounds for yourself in terms of ambient noise. But beyond that, the kinds of sounds that you produce just on your own when you are doing a scene can be very helpful. It can be, you know, the soft whispers. It can be the communication with the partner. It can be like, wow, that feels really nice. Or, I like it when you touch me there. Or like, whatever. I don't really do this during a scene, but like, if you did, you could do it that way. I don't really do, like, I like when people whisper to me, but like, I feel like people usually use whispering as a way to say naughty things, and like, I'm ace, and so people telling weird sexual things to me about my body or their body is just like, no. But that's not the only way that you can communicate to a partner during a scene. In terms of communicating just pure raw energy, you can also just make noises. It doesn't have to be anything in particular in terms of like a specific sound. It tends to be more the pitch and the tone and volume that matters when it comes to communicating energy. Making, you know, very soft kind of squeaks when something happens, you know, kind of facilitates more of the sort of lightheartedness and the fun of a scene. Or if you're really trying to process pain, making really deep, low kind of animalistic noises, one, calms your body and helps communicate your energy to a partner. Really shrill, high squeaks tend to kind of raise the overall energy, tend to, I think, maybe go along with more of like an interrogation or maybe like a CNC type scene, or at least that's my connection to it. When something feels good, make whatever natural organic sounds go along with that. I think a lot of people spend their lives feeling shame around the things that their bodies do, and I don't think that BDSM is the time or the place for that. So I don't expect anybody to do it all at once, but if you can shed some of that shame around the noises that you make just naturally as a human being and just do them, chances are your partner's probably going to like them, and if they don't, they're probably going to negotiate to use a gag on you. So, you know, win-win. Like, you can still make noises, like, and communicate the energy through the noise without it necessarily having to be audible to the other person. Like, if you're wearing a gag and you're just like behind the gag, that's still communicating an energy even if they can't hear it. Even if you're the only one who can really hear it, if they're wearing headphones or earplugs or whatever. It's just there. The energy travels through those sound waves. It's the only way I can think of describing it, is it's going through those sound waves. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be something where you're like projecting and like making your voice really heard. You can do it very internally. I think I have given quite a few suggestions, quite a few things for you to kind of chew on and process. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for ways you like to connect during a scene, I would love to hear them. Feel free to leave them down below. I don't really do question of the day type things on my videos, but if you want to, feel free to share your own experience with connection and things that have worked for you if you do have anything else at all. If you like this video, if you want to see more from me, you can subscribe to my channel. I make videos twice a week. And finally, if you really enjoyed this content, if you want to see some exclusive things from me, extra videos, photo shoots, things like that, that is over on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. If you do already support me over there, thank you so, so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you guys next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.